I want to thank Rajiv for putting on, for organizing an amazing event. And we at Open Zeppelin are working hard with the same goals that I think many of you have, that Rajiv has, which is we need to expand security services, security products in the space. We have so much to do, and there's a long way to go, and it's very exciting to be here at this time and be here with everybody. So thank you to those of you who are up early. We're probably not all wide awake yet, but hopefully you'll bear with me. I appreciate that I didn't have to speed up my talk by 6 minutes, because I wouldn't have been able to do it. What I want to talk to you about today is this idea that I want to talk a little bit about security for DAOs and Incs. And Open Zeppelin, things have come a long way, and we find ourselves increasingly working with DAOs and Incs, and that is a new and different problem. And so I want to talk some about that, because some of you may already be doing that, or this is on the horizon for all of us, and it's part of the reason we have to expand the services. And this is in general just an update of the activity that we're working on at Open Zeppelin. I'm not going to talk specifically about auditing. We have sessions later today to talk about auditing. I'll mention some things around audits, but at Open Zeppelin, you probably know we do security audits, but I want to talk about the other areas that surround it, that go together with it, and that is our work towards enabling secure development and enabling secure operations, which we believe are critical to really mitigate risk and deliver security. It needs to be end-to-end and continuous. So an update on our work in secure development. You probably know Open Zeppelin Contracts, and Open Zeppelin Contracts continues to grow. I'm going to talk about the latest release. There's a lot of features. There's a lot of libraries. It has gotten increasingly complex over time to figure out, if you're trying to build something new, pick a proxy, pick some features, pick a token type. How do you put this all together? We actually built, we're working a lot on developer tooling and how to make that easier. And one of the things that, if you're not familiar with, we delivered something called Wizard. We always wanted to have a product that we could call the Wizard of Oz, and now we have it, and it's the Contracts Wizard, and it is a tool for kind of getting you started. And one of the things we're also working on that you'll see coming soon is the ability to go explore deployed contracts, so you can see the features that are there, you can see some of the different aspects of how roles have been set up, and then you can also you'll be able to use this to take those existing contracts and add other features to them. If that's something you want to add possibility, then we'll just layer that in for you, and now you have a template to work from. One of the areas that we've been working a lot on, you've seen a lot of growth, is on-chain governance, and this is an area where having good templates that ensure the security of voting and execution is really important. So we decided to invest our time there. There's now a module of Open Zeppelin Contracts for Governor. We worked with the Compound team on this. It is Compound Bravo compatible. But it has modularity, and one of the main reasons we did this is that a lot of folks out there started using Compound Alpha, Compound Bravo, but wanted other features, and that wasn't really a thing the Compound team wanted to do. They didn't need those features. So we've kind of now incorporated this and are starting to add new features. So as I'll mention in a second, we have a new release of Open Zeppelin Contracts coming out, and one of the things it adds is new fractionalized capabilities for fractionalized voting and other kind of voting options. And we are also working, as I'll mention in a second, a lot on layer 2 to layer 1 and messaging. And so one of the other areas we're working on is the ability to have on-chain governance on layer 1, but do your voting on layer 2. And have them work together seamlessly. So we're actually engaging with some teams, specifically Pool Together, working with them on that. We also are focusing quite a bit on making sure that OpenZeppelin Contracts is completely compatible across layer 2s, so Arbitrum, Optimism, ZKNet. But you may have also seen that we've partnered with StarkNet, and there is now a version of OpenZeppelin Contracts for Cairo. It doesn't have all the features yet. We're working on that. There'll be more rolling out this year. But we're also working on the tooling, so now there's a wizard for OpenZeppelin Contracts for Cairo. And again, if you're, I think everybody knows, if you're looking to get into Cairo, like this is a good learning place to start. Now, you may have also seen, we've been working on some tooling around Cairo development, developer tooling, just filling in some missing pieces, but our real goal, and we've been working more and more on our hard hat integrations, our truffle integrations. You'll see VS Code integrations coming from OpenZeppelin soon. So, our real goal is to kind of integrate to the development tools that everybody's using. I did mention that we have a new release. Typically, OpenZeppelin Contracts, we have a release every quarter. There is a new release in public review right now. So if you're wondering about our process, we often get asked, how do you decide what you do? Well, we have community calls. You can join them. We have interaction through our forum. We take everybody's input. We try to do our best to figure out where's a good place to spend our time. We share our ideas and our roadmap through the forum, through the community calls. Eventually, we end up with a set of stuff we're working on, and when we're working on it, we tend to publish along the way, and then finally, when we have a release, we put it into public review. There's bug bounties. We have a bug bounty for contracts. We have a relationship with Immunify, and so you can go and help us and help the community by reviewing these, but it also lets you know what's going on. And specifically what I want to mention in this release, I already mentioned improvements to governance, but we are working on messaging. And you might have heard a lot this week and even at the conference about some of the struggles of layer 2 to layer 1 and cross-chain messaging. So increasingly, teams are deploying contracts across multiple chains, and these chains have their own unique kind of messaging features built in, and so we're building basically a common interface on top of them, and we're already supporting Arbitrum and Optimism and Gnosis and Polygon and others. And by the way, this is just the start of it because there's more to come. But it's built in, and we're also extending some of the features we have, like access control is a feature of OpenZeppelin Contracts, and if you're deploying multi-chain, you may be wondering, well, how am I supposed to manage access control across multiple chains? And we're working to solve that, and you'll see that in this release. Another area related to bridging is we're beginning to think about, you may all be thinking about, well, okay, if we're going to live in a multi-chain world, how should we do this? Shouldn't we standardize some of the work? We've made a proposal for an interface on ERC20s, which would be to have a standard interface for bridge mintable tokens, where you would be able to deposit on a source chain and have it mint on a destination chain and have a kind of standard interface for how that happens. So we're actually requesting feedback on this public proposal right now to decide whether this is a good thing to move forward on the community. You probably also know we work a lot on education, and Ethernaut is our CTF game for learning about security. We're working on this actively. We continue to add levels. I think we've added like a level a month, basically, for the last few months. Go check it out. There's always new fun stuff there. And as far as audits go, what I do want to mention here is we just recently put out a new readiness guide that is a kind of a primer for development teams to say, what are all the good practices you should follow to be as ready as you can be for an audit. It's relevant whether you're using OpenZeppelin audit team or any other team, but it's actually just good development practices, our recommendations on best practices for development. So that's out there. You can find all this at openzeppelin.com. All right, so secure development, template libraries, best practices, really critical to security, testing, audits. But once you deploy, then what happens? And really, we need to work to mitigate risk post-deployment. This is a belief we have at OpenZeppelin, and I think that all of us know it's standard security practice in Web 2, and honestly, I think as this goes to this idea of DAOs and Incs, as more and more value, more and more people, more and more applications, more and more builders come to the space, they're going to expect that the best practices that have been developed over years that are good and solid for operations are going to translate into the smart contract blockchain space. And so we've been working for the last few years on tooling for operations because we saw a need here. And you may be familiar, I'm not going to talk a lot about it here, OpenZeppelin Defender, something we've been working on for a couple of years. And the idea of Defender is to provide a secure operations platform for managing operations tasks and providing safety and making it easier and get us out of writing scripts for deployments and upgrades and having to worry about the accuracy, and it'll check the accuracy, having to worry about infrastructure to run cron jobs on your smart contracts or automating other things on your smart contracts, controlling access, having visibility, and also having just coordination as you have a growing team of operators and administrators. How do you coordinate among them? How do you do emergency response? All of these things are in OpenZeppelin. We're working on in OpenZeppelin Defender, and we also are supporting quite a few number of chains, and that is growing. It'll be all the L2s. The other thing that I want to mention today is Forta, which is a new decentralized network that OpenZeppelin incubated, and we have now launched through a nonprofit foundation. I'm not going to have a lot of time to go into detail on Forta today. We'll maybe have some time in some other sessions later. But the idea is that there is a decentralized network of scanners, and anyone can write detection bots that run in these scanners. And the scanners are gathering all the logs for every block can ultimately be scanning every blockchain, and the bots then can look for issues, anomalies, known suspicious patterns of behavior, and fire alerts that can trigger alarms, that can trigger circuit breakers. And so Forta has been in a test phase for the last few months. There's about 20 contributing organizations: Nethermind, LimeChain, Arbitrary Execution, Ernst & Young. There are a number of projects already actively using this: Lido, UMA, Aave, Polygon. DYDX just issued a $100,000 grant for a team to develop some bots for them on Forta. So this is all happening, and Forta has just announced that it's going into its next phase, which is going to open up node running, an incentivized network for expansion. So I recommend that you may want to check this out because, again, I won't have time to get into it now, but decentralized operational monitoring and threat detection is something we believe that we need in this space. All right, so, and I'm not going to go into detail. There's a number of examples of Forta having already detected a number of exploits that have occurred. But I'll let you read up. You can go to forda.org and read up on the blog there. So finally, just want to close with a couple of comments, as I said, on what does it mean to work with DAOs and inks. People may have seen, I know some of you may have been involved with, that Open Zeppelin went through a process with the Compound DAO a few months back where we basically agreed to become to help with security management for the DAO. And what we've done is we've established a process which involves kind of a continuous relationship, a dedicated team working with the DAO to help build best practices in development, have a more kind of ongoing process for auditing that isn't like stop everything, re-audit, stop everything, re-audit, but it's more incremental. Look at every proposal that governance has to consider, do security review on those proposals, and then after things are deployed, have the operational setup in place to ensure risk mitigation and controls and to do the monitoring. So we're now working to help coordinate the efforts across, distributed teams who don't all work for Compound Labs, many different parties, and we're working to coordinate this and have communications. And the thing I want to point out here is the difficulty here. A lot of the difficulties are not technical, they're organizational, they're process, they're people. And so we do need tools, we do need platforms, we do need improvement, but those of us working in security have also got to realize that we've got to develop our processes, and the more we can define the best practices and the processes of how does a DAO manage security and how are decisions made about what are the requirements to do changes, and what are the actions to take in the case of emergencies or issues. These are all important things we have to consider. And similarly, and I'll just, this is the closing here. Okay, sorry. We're working with inks. We've increasingly started working with inks, and the inks already have policies, they already have processes which are defined by standards like SOC 2 and ISO 27001, and they already have tools they work with to help track and manage this. And at Open Zeppelin, we're working to bring those things together. And I think we all have to think, okay, what is it going to mean to be SOC 2 compliant if you're working on smart contracts or ISO 27001? So these are areas we're focusing on. Thank you very much.